Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylie. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
All right. Welcome back, friends. We're so glad that you're here enjoying another episode of Elite Life with me, Kylie, and Trish over yonder. And I can't help but notice that very bright and beautiful shirt you have on.
This is my Have a Good Day shirt.
Yeah?
Yeah. Most of my wardrobe throughout the years, throughout nearly all of my life until probably like last year, was black. I have 500 black sweatshirts and
I'm not mad at you for that.
But I started Stitch Fix and they randomly sent me a yellow shirt one time and I wore it and literally everybody I came into contact with was like, oh my gosh, I love that yellow shirt. It's so bright and happy. And I'm like, you know what? It makes me feel happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all mental. I mean, if you think about it, I can't tell you how many documentaries and articles I've read about the psychology of color and how, like, even all the way up to, like, going into McDonald's, that red and that yellow is there to psychologically get you ready for some serious, food throwdown.
I love it. I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense because marketing and branding is all psychology anyways. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Like just some quick tips because I feel like life is heavy right now, right? Like the world is going crazy, crazier than normal even, which is a lot.
I'm just going to zip my lip and spare all of our listeners my thoughts and views on everything that's happening in the world. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we have a very high rate of depression, divorce, suicide, and even the mainstream media is talking about the very prevalence of mental health issues that we have going on. And so I am really glad that you brought this topic up because whether you're dealing with something like that or you're just like me where you're like, I am burnt the F out, yo. Yeah. Like, I just want to go into the ER get a nice, saline drip, give me a sedative, and I'm just going to take a nap for a little while.
Well, I thought of it because last week I had just the worst day and it was just like one thing after another thing after another thing. And I'm training for my next marathon and I still had to run 5 miles when I got home at 7 p.m. in the most awful mood ever. Definitely not wanting to go run 5 miles and, it's hot and it's sweaty and I'm angry and I'm like, oh my gosh, but I have a partner that I'm accountable to. We've talked about goal setting and how you got to get in a partner and you have to have a plan. So I have a partner and we have a plan. So I had to do it. Like it wasn't negotiable to not go run this 5 miles. So I'm like, all right, what can I do? So I come home and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get on I started with my clothes. I'm like neon blue tank top.
Yes.
I have bright orange, safety orange shoes.
Ooh, you were showing your Puerto Rican that day, weren't you, girlfriend?
Nothing matched. Bright yellow hair tie. And I'm like, okay, how can I get myself out of this funk? So I put on all of these bright clothes and I'm like, a lot of times when I run, I like to listen to podcasts, but I was like, I need some fun, peppy music. So I put on the
Taylor Swift.
I almost went to Taylor Swift, but I had actually used Taylor Swift over the weekend.
Oh, okay. So Miley Cyrus was on deck.
Yeah, well, it was AJR, which is really pumpy, really poppy, just fun, happy music. And I turned it all the way up and I start running and I am just saying hi to everybody. I have a lot of older people that live in our sub and the sub next to us. And I'm just like, hi. And as they would be surprised by this crazy woman, super happy, saying hi
with
to them.
all of these, the running highlighter.
Yes. But then they would smile back.
There it is.
Yeah. So it kind of made me start thinking about okay, so when I'm feeling funky, what can I do? And it was blast some music, right? Like blast your favorite happy music. You already know that's one of my things. So some Taylor Swift, some AGR, whatever your happy is. Like, what's your happy music? What do you like to go to?
It depends on what kind of happy I'm trying to be. Like, I really enjoy like Christian music. Like if I'm really, really sad or I'm feeling defeated, far away from God, which is my essential happy place, I will get in the car and just sit in the driveway and I will blast some like David Crowder, or gosh, there are so many that I love. He's one of my favorites though. Mandisa, she's amazing. She does that song Overcomer, and even though it makes me cry, like I'm just like, okay, I can do this. Like God's got me. Like there's absolutely no reason. And in my brain, and I know not all of our listeners have a theology, and that's fine, but in my brain, I personally believe, my life is a gift. Everything that I have is a gift. And so if I'm crying in my Cheerios, then I'm being ungrateful for all the gifts that my Creator has given to me. So I just remember my purpose. And that really helps too, because it's like my purpose is to worship God, to serve Him, and to be the best. Like my number one job is like being best mom and wife. And so that really helps me out. That kind of went a little bit down a little different road.
No, but that actually brings me to the next one. So like after like blasting some music, whether you go jogging or you dance it out or you sit and you give praise in your car, the next one was to give. Like give a compliment, give your time, give your gratitude, donate to a cause. Like when we had our Christmas party and I bought all of those big prizes to give out for the raffle, when we left, I'm like, it felt so good to like give a giant TV to somebody.
That
or
was
give
the biggest TV I've actually ever seen with my personal own eyes outside of like a store.
I love it so much because it's like, I always say when I buy Christmas presents for our kids, it's almost like I buy them because it's Christmas and you give your kids presents at Christmas, but I get so much joy from doing the Elite Cares project and giving gifts to kids that really need it. A lot of the families that we give to for Elite Cares, those kids ask for simple things like jackets or socks. So giving, whether it be a cause, whether it be a compliment, time, volunteering, when you give, you feel so good. And when you give gratitude, when you give compliments, and you see that like you made somebody else's day, like I said, even when I was just waving to the other people, they were so happy and that made me happy.
But also too, you don't know what kind of day they were having. Maybe they were having a poopy day too. And so I've done that. I've had that. I've been in a bad mood and had some stranger or a neighbor be like, hey, how you doing? It's like, thanks for acknowledging that I freaking exist, because I think that's another thing. When COVID happened and we had the shutdown, so many people, even if you were in a house with a bunch of people like I was, like you came to a place where you were sick of them, but like so many people got really, really like socially isolated. And so keeping that in mind, like a lot of people, even though that was like, 2 coming up on 3 years ago, that's a lasting effect, and it might not even be at the forefront of somebody's mind. Like they might just be feeling lonely and sad and not understanding where these feelings are coming from. And then they just pass somebody in the grocery store who just says, hi, or can I help you get that off that, the top of that. I'm always looking for those people, like when I'm out and about, like how can I help somebody who's like struggling, to reach something or find something. So I think that goes a long way too, is just keeping that in mind.
Yeah, and it reminds me, when you were talking about that, it reminded me of this girl when me and Trent were going to Boston last week. I stopped at Leo's Coney Island in the airport to grab some breakfast. And this girl, she was a younger girl, probably like early 20s. And she's like, hi, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. And she's like, are you having a good day? Like, are you feeling good today? And I was like, just that 2 seconds of like actually asking and genuinely caring, because there's so many times where I'll be checking out and the cashier's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good. How are you? And she just keeps checking out.
Right.
Like, it was just part of like what her spiel is. But this girl like genuinely took a second, made eye contact, smiled, and was like, how are you doing today? Like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, oh my gosh, a stranger. But it changed my whole morning.
Yeah.
Something so simple and so little as like, wow, I feel cared about at this Leo's Coney Island in the airport, you know? And it just set a really good tone for the day and was a really good game changer. So I think that's a great one. Giving, compliment, time, any of those things. And then the next one I had on my list was go to the pet store and play with some puppies. I didn't know you could go to pet stores and play with puppies. And then when we were shopping, I feel weird saying shopping for a puppy because Billy's like part of our family now, right. And you don't buy your family. But Trent would go to the pet stores and like send me all these pictures of puppies he was playing with. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I know like Jill from our office, she will go to the rescues and just sit and play with the puppies all day. And when we got Billy, I would spend like a good 20 minutes every morning just playing with her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this sets the tone. Like, you just get so happy.
I like playing with our dog too, but one thing that I do enjoy doing because I have, as many of you listeners know, I have an 8-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old daughter, and a 1-year-old son. I am blessed to be the first one up in the morning because Lord knows that's the only time I'm going to get some me time. But that also means that I'm usually the one, getting the baby up and having those first few moments. And he's such a snuggle bug. And it doesn't even matter, how I woke up or on what side of the bed, like having that time with him where I'll put his feet on either side of my hips and he'll just lean into my chest and just be there. And he just wants me, just wants snuggles. But the other thing I like to do with the girls is I like to ask them questions. And so for any of you who do have younger children, you know that they have a very interesting perspective on the world. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, we were driving to church and we were just talking about going to church and like people who go to church and inviting people to church. And I think it was Casey who was like, well, we need to find a new church where, where we could take Tigger. That's our dog. And I'm like, why, dogs don't go to church. And Casey's like, why? And Kaya looks over and was like, 'cause all dogs go to heaven. Don't you know? So I love asking them just their thoughts on things like what do you think about that? Or like how things work or how things are made or put together. Or I like giving them like what if scenarios like, you guys, what if we won the lottery? And then I had to explain to them what the lottery was. Right. I was like, what if we won tons and tons, just millions of dollars? And Casey's like, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of my people. And then I'm going to buy a house, and then I'm going to buy food, and I'll be good. And I'm just like, your priorities are so straight.
Yes. Erica Medina in our office, she used to do the question of the day with her twins because we actually had talked about that before you joined Ely in 411, how we really wanted to... A lot of times because life is so busy, it's hard sometimes to get everybody at the kitchen table and sit down and have dinner together. Yeah. So when you intentionally, she would Google questions to ask your kids, and then she would map out every day. She just copied and pasted onto her Google Calendar a question of the day for every day. And that's how when she picked her kids up from school, her twins, they would start a conversation with a question of the day and like exactly what you're doing. And it sparks those conversations that you wouldn't normally have. It gives you more, like you said, more introspection into how your kids are thinking, how they're doing. And sometimes it opens up some really good conversations that maybe you need to hear about. Because like I remember one time, I think one of her questions was like, what made you sad today? And then she got to hear about like a problem that they were having at school. So you can have fun questions, but you could also have sad questions, but just communicating with your kids in general. Because that actually brings me to the next one, which was if you know someone with a baby, go visit and hold the baby and play with the kids, because kids can really brighten your day, whether it be coloring or listening to their stories. Like I was telling everybody at the grad party how Kaya told you when I gave her that $5 paparazzi bracelet that some wonderful old lady gave it to her. And I'm like, I was the wonderful old lady.
She makes stuff up. We do a similar thing as the questions. Ryan started best, worst, weirdest. So it gives you a highlight of their day, a low point of their day, and something random. And usually, sometimes like he'll forget to ask it until bedtime and be like, okay, let's wind down. Let's do our best, worst, weirdest. And Kaya will be like, well, best part of my day was eating burritos for dinner. Worst part of my day is right now because I don't want to go to bed. And the weirdest part of my day is why are you making me go to bed when the sun's not going to bed? So that's another one too that I really enjoy.
I love that. And I think anytime you can sit down and have really good conversations with your kids, you always leave that feeling happy. You really do. And then like just some random ones I had added on here that like I didn't even know I liked was painting. So I never have considered myself a very artsy person. My mom said I was the only kid in the world that didn't like to color.
Because you have too much shit to do.
Yeah, I'm busy, right? But when I sit and paint, it is super therapeutic and I always end up in a better mood because I've created something. The same with cooking. Like when I started food prepping and cooking new things and feeding people and seeing how happy they were from them, I really enjoyed it until my kids got old enough to not want to eat vegetables, and now I don't cook anymore. But, painting, cooking, soak in a bath. Lock that door on your bathroom and just give yourself 20 minutes to soak in a bath. You will feel better after. Again, put on that music, whatever.
I'm gonna come soak in your bath is what I'm gonna do.
My bathtub is nice.
You have a jacuzzi tub.
Snuggle by the fire. So me and Dave were talking about this. Our new house has 3 fireplaces, and I was like, well, we're not going to use all 3 of them. We have had fireplaces our whole life and never used them, but this one that we have, you just flip a switch and it comes on, and I use it all the time. And I'm like, it's so nice to just like sit by the fire and either like read a good book or just snuggle my dog or watch a funny movie. That was on my list. Like, put on a funny movie. Like, you cannot watch a funny movie and start laughing and end up after that movie in a bad mood, right? Like,
so what's your favorite funny movie? Give me top 3.
Oh, I love Adam Sandler movies.
Okay.
Like, I will sit and watch some Billy Madison. I know every single word to it. It's just so stupid. It cracks me up. And I'm like, I really want to sit here and start like, stop looking at me, Sean. Like, oh my gosh, so good. So I love all the old Billy Madison movies. Those always crack me up. I think those are really like my go-to for when I want something really funny. But Dave is always finding stuff on Netflix and things like that for us.
I like Malibu's Most Wanted. That's one of my desert island movies. I have seen that movie 5,642 times. And I still, if it's on when I get out of the shower, I'm still going to sit butt naked on the end of the couch and watch it until it's over with.
Oh my God.
I love that one. And then not anything, but I love Will Ferrell is one of my favorites.
Step Brothers. Oh my gosh.
Hilarious.
Love
my goodness.
It. Me and Trent both, we will sleepwalk. And I'm like, this is me and Trent. We're in the kitchen, like putting, stuff into
pillows in the oven.
Yes. See, you can't even talk about the funny movies without smiling. And
No, those are awesome.
Yes.
I feel like though you have to have a special. Like my mom would hate any Will Ferrell movie that's ever come out. Oh, I think Talladega Nights is probably my favorite one.
Yes.
I just love it. Yeah, I think that was our Halloween costume.
Yeah, stay tuned for Halloween episode when me and Kylie are
dressing up.
All right. And if all else fails, just unplug from your phone, sit on the floor, and just do some I call it box breathing. Like, breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3, in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3. And like, that'll just relax you, We
should get your voice at the end. We should have like a little 1 minute,
little breathing meditation. I like it. All right. So quick and fast, blast some funky music, dance it out, go for a jog, dress the part, ditch your black, put on some fun yellow or some neon colors, go to the pet store, play with puppies, go find some kids, hang out with them, have some fun, listen to what they have to say. Paint, cook, soak in a bath, snuggle by a fire, watch a funny movie, unplug from your phone for an hour, and just lay on the floor and put a smile on your face.
I like how she completely glossed over anything dealing with children because we all know that
I said find some children, but then I was like,
Find
this
some
is weird if you find random stranger children.
Find some children. Now we all know why you're really moving out of the neighborhood.
Listen to this podcast and have yourself a laugh. Yeah, that would be the last one, right? When in doubt, just go listen to all of our podcasts. They'll crack you up.
I love it. Well, thanks for running that down for us. I hope that this was helpful. If not, come back next time and maybe you'll find something else. We are all over. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeart Radio. We're on Apple Podcasts. If you are listening or watching, please drop a 5-star review. Leave us a love note. We love to hear what you have to say. If you have any ideas, thoughts, we'd love to know what you do to brighten your day when you are down in the dumps and in the, as Trisha so eloquently puts it, in the trough of sorrow.
Oh, the trough of sorrow.
Trough of sorrows. We love you all. Come back next Thursday for some more Elite Life.
Bye.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Live with Trish and Kylie. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.